Sisters 4. By Hak Jin Kim. Mom, I think you'd better see her if she wants. You can see her on Saturdays like today because she's busy on weekdays. I don't think she's a con artist, but you must do a background check on her. You have a phone number, then ask her to bring a picture of you. You can also check your grandfather's family register to see if Mrs. Kim was on it. Wow. Bora, you're a smart girl. This evening, I'm gonna look over my old photo album to find a picture of her. And then I'll visit the community office to get the family register next week. Sook looks content. Bora leaves Sook's office to the library before she goes home. She can't waste her precious time in order to make her dream come true. Since Bora saw Won, she has become clearer about her goal. At first, she began to study hard to enter a top college for her mother. But now she has to be a college student at SNU to hang out with Won. Surprisingly, it seemed to be love at first sight. When Bora was introduced to Won, Bora couldn't understand how she would have such a feeling of emotion. At the moment she saw Won, Bora feels thankful to Lang, who has been a loyal supporter as the best friend. And also was the only person to let Bora see people with an open mind. Now Lang gives Bora a chance to experience an unexpected thing such as Won. When Bora goes back home from the library, the sun is still high in the sky. Walking down the path along the Sungbok stream, she thinks about not what she has studied for the afternoon, but people she met at Lang's house. As she gets closer to her apartment complex, she grins on her face, finding out that she has kept thinking about the scene that her eyes met Wan's bright eyes with fondness. The summer has passed while Bora and Lang are doing their works as hard as they can. As the fall comes, they even don't text each other, focusing on their respective goals. From time to time Bora has been given some useful tips on how to get high scores on tests by Won, whom Bora is fond of, and Bora tries not to be distracted by him with her strong will. In the meantime, Sook and Mrs. Kim get close each other after Mrs. Kim was proved to be Sook's aunt. Mrs. Kim visits Sook's office as often as she has a free time from work. And sometimes she stops by with Hyo-sun Lee. Although Hyo-sun tries to be nice to Sook, Sook feels uncomfortable with her since she comes from different social background. Sook would guess that Hyo-sun's visit to the office is a gesture of intimacy for Mrs. Kim. However, it isn't easy for Sook to see Hyo-sun through innocent eyes. As long as Hyo-sun hires Mrs. Kim as a housekeeper, the more often they see together, the more comfortable Hyo-sun seems to feel. Now that things have come to this, Sook decides to deal with their current situation by considering Hyo-sun as a future customer, without knowing that Hyo-sun is Lang's grandmother. One day when Sook is busy with real estate customers, Hyo-sun alone appears at the office. "Oh, you have customers. Shall I come back later?" Hyo-sun says, opening the door. "No, come in and have a seat, please. We've just done with the sales contract. So, we were about to have some tea. Do you mind if my customers can stay a while?" "Sure, no problem. Go ahead." Hyo-sun takes a newspaper from the magazine shelf. But Hyo-sun watches Sook and her customers and listens to them, just holding the newspaper in her hands. She shows an interest in how Sook handles her business. As a rich woman who has never worked for money, Hyo-sun seems to look at Sook with curiosity. As befits a real estate broker with a 10-year career, Sook reads Hyo-sun's face and begins to talk something about her business, including interesting anecdotes. Since Sook gives a vivid accounts of her life in the field of real estate, Hyo-sun looks like that she is having fun. A while later the customers leave the office, but Hyo-sun stays with Sook. "I have plenty time, Ms. Kong," Hyo-sun says, smiling. "Make yourself at home." I have a lot of time from now on. So, how is your family? I haven't heard of you from Mrs. Kim, Suk says plainly. To be honest, I feel somewhat lonely though I live with my son's family. You know, all of them are busy and even Mrs. Kim is always busy with her housework, Hyo-sun sighs. As Suk takes a close look at Hyo-sun, she finds that Hyo-sun in her mid-70s looks 10 years younger, especially when she laughs. Hyo-sun has a pretty smile, which reminds Suk of her former boyfriend, Bora's biological father. He also had a pretty smile so that Suk had a crush on him at first glance. If he hadn't broken up with her, they would have been married and lived happily with Bora. Suk has never regretted that she didn't get hold of him when he unilaterally broke off their relationship. Suk gazes at somewhere in the office thinking of the past, while Hyo-sun is telling stories about her past. Suk doesn't pay attention to it, and pricks up her ears. When Hyo-sun starts to talk about her second son who died of a heart attack. Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss, Mrs. Lee. You must be filled with sorrow. How could that happen? Suk says. I still feel sad when I think of that day. He went to take his dog for a walk after having dinner at home. And on the way home, his dog ran to catch a cat, straining at the leash. My son followed the dog by grabbing tightly the leash, and all of a sudden, it was hit by a car near his home. The dog was taken to the hospital right away, but it was gone. And at the dawn of the next day, I got a phone call from his wife. She said that my son had a heart attack and died on the way to the hospital. Hyo-sun remains tight-lipped and says nothing more. Silence falls for a few minutes. Suk feels a little bit annoyed with Hyo-sun's serious face. Well, it's time to go home. I shouldn't have told you about my son. Please forget about it, and thank you for your time. Can I visit any time I want? Sure, you can come anytime, Mrs. Lee. Oh, there's one more thing I've got to tell you. I heard from Lang, my granddaughter, a few days ago that you're Bora's mother. I was glad to hear that cuz Lang and Bora are close friends. Hyo-sun says and leaves. After seeing off Hyo-sun, Suk sits at her desk and begins to think that there are somewhat complicated relationships around her. Soon, she tries not to care who Hyo-sun is, and searches on the internet for information about homes being marketed for sale. All through the afternoon, Suk stays alone without customers. By the time the sun is about to go down, Suk checks the clock to see if it's time to get off work. She looks outside of the window from her office and sees that the wind blows hard, which means that the weather is going to get cold. From the beginning of November, it is getting colder day by day, as the chilly wind begins to blow. At this time of year, Korean high school seniors have hectic schedules for a yearly Korean Scholastic Ability Test. They rarely talk to each other while they are in school, so there is only silence in each classroom. And the day has finally come. On the day of the test, Bora gets up earlier than usual, about 3 hours before a late November sun rises. As soon as she washes her face, she sits at her desk to look over a note of all the wrong answers which she made for the test. She focuses on each question she has missed in each subject, since she aims to achieve top scores. An hour later, Suk gets out of her room and tiptoes to the kitchen to make breakfast and pack a lunch for Bora. She glances at the dim light on the floor coming out of Bora's room and smiles thinking of Bora, who still concentrates on her notebook. Since this past spring when Bora began to make efforts to improve her schoolwork, she has allowed Suk to prepare breakfast whenever she had a test. Bora, breakfast is ready. Okay, Mom. I'm coming. Bora, how do you feel? At last, today is the day of the test. Yep. I hope I'll do my best. Are you gonna give me a ride this morning? Sure. Do you want me to pick you up after the exam? No, Mom. I'll come home on my own. Don't worry, Bora says, staring at her notebook. Bora arrives first at the test site. She enters the classroom which she has been assigned to and sits at her desk. And she starts to review her summary notes, without paying attention to other students until the test supervisor comes in and orders students to be ready for the test. The test lasts for a whole day. Bora focuses on each problem to make the best of it. Finally, the test is over, and Bora leaves the test site along with other students. Bora sees Lang in the distance, who seems to look for her before reaching the gate. Bora lowers her head and gets out of the test site quickly, because she wants to be alone, being exhausted from staying up late to study. Bora heads to the Sungbok stream instead of taking a bus. While walking down the path along the stream, feeling the cold wind on her face, Bora keeps thinking about how she did on the test, wondering if she'll make it to the top. If her prediction is right, her next move is to enter the same college that Wan Li goes to. She imagines that she walks around the campus, with Wan holding his hand and studies with him in the library, sitting side by side. It's fantastic. Oh my, I'm counting my chickens. Hey, Bora, you go too far, Bora says to herself, smiling.